Robert W. Service was the poet laureate of the Yukon and Alaska, and the Shooting of Dan McGrew is one of the favorite poems in melodrama. A bunch of the boys were whooping it up at the Malamute Saloon. The kid that handles the music box was hitting a ragtime tune. Back of the bar in the solo game sat Dangerous Dan McGrew, and watching his luck was his light of love, the lady who's known as Lou. When out of the night, which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner fresh from the creeks, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with a foot in the grave, with scarcely the strength of a louse, but he tilted a poke of dust on the bar, and he called for drinks on the house. There's none could place the stranger's face. We searched ourselves for a clue, but we drank his health. And there watching him was the lady that's known as Lou. There's men that somehow grab your eyes and hold them hard like a spell, and such was he, and he seemed to me like a man who had lived in hell, with a face most hair and the dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass, and the drops fell one by one. And I got to figuring who he was and wondering what I'd do, and I turned my head, and there watching him was the lady who's known as Lou. Then his eyes went rubbering around the room, and he seemed in kind of the daze, till at last that old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink, there was no one else on the stool, so the stranger stumbles across the room and flops down there like a fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat where I saw him sway. Then he gripped the keys with his taloned hands. My God, but that man could play. Were you ever out in the great alone when the moon was awful clear and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you most could hear, with only the cry of a timber wolf and you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold, when high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the north lights swept in bars? Then you've a hunch what the music meant. Hunger and night and the stars. And a hunger not of the belly kind that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of lonely men for a home and all that it means, for a fireside far from the cares that are, four walls and a roof above, and oh so crammed full of cozy love, crowned with a woman's love, a woman dearer than all the rest, true as heaven is true. Like how ghastly she looks through her rouge, the lady that's known as Lou. All of a sudden, the music changed. Okay. Cue. You felt that your life had been looted clean of all that it once held dear, that someone had stolen the woman you loved, that her love was a devil's lie, that your guts were gone, the best for you was to crawl away and die. It was the crowning cry of a heart's despair, and it thrilled you through and through. I guess I'll make it a spread. Misère, said Dangerous Dan McGrew. The music almost died away. Then it burst like a pent-up flood. And it seemed to say, repay, repay, and my eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back of an ancient wrong. It stung like a frozen lash. The urge arose to kill, to kill. The music stopped with a crash. Then the stranger turned, and his eyes, they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. And boy, says he, you don't know me, none of you care a damn, but I want to state, my words are straight, I'll bet my poke they're true. that one of you is the hound of hell, and that one is Dan McGrew. Then I ducked my head, the lights went out, and 2 guns blazed in the dark. And a woman screamed, and the lights went up, and 2 men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and pumped full of lead was dangerous Dan McGrew, while the man from the creeks was clutched to the breast of the lady who's known as Lou. These are the simple facts of the case. I guess you ought to know. They say the stranger was crazed with hooch. I'm not denying it, so I'm not so wise as the lover as the lawyer guys. But strictly between us two, the woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady who's known as Lou.
Dad, I think we should give up this